In abbey shores where shadows play, the alley whispers night and day. In abomination, alley's grip, where fear and danger tightly knit. Oh, the alley breathes a tale untold of secrets dark and hearts grown cold. Abbey streets, they'll pull you in to the depths where sin begins.
Hello, and welcome to Dire Bear. It's Tuesday night, so of course that means we're playing Abomination Alley, our BRP actual play. I'll be your storyteller for the evening, Jason. And with me as usual will be Sarah playing Vivian, Patrick playing Leo, Carr playing Teak, and Eric playing Michael. Who remembers what we did last week? Aside from disconnect a lot.
We
Disconnect.
we stopped a water mental through song.
Yes.
Not an inaccurate description.
He got knocked the fuck out.
That was
Nobody
not-
can knock Teak out except Teak.
We also saved the mermaid. We kept the last is that. We found out we had just missed the actual assassin because the wizard that was in the boat controlling it was killed in his apartment.
Yep. And if I recall correctly, I think y'all figured out the assassin was basically holding the door for you as you ran into the building.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And your detective friend, Detective Cole, has put an APB out for that guy. But truthfully, his description could describe all kinds of business people in the city. Yeah, it wasn't. The fellow that held the door for you was not somebody that really stood out. I mean, there were certain neighborhoods that somebody walked through with that kind of suit would kind of be noticeable. So yeah, so y'all finished up running off the elemental, and then investigating who had summoned it, and found his body. The investigation, at least for the moment, has kind of gone cold at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we are coming back a week later. So it's now April in game.
Mhm.
So not quite as cold, though occasionally a cold front still comes through and drops a little snow. Carr, what was Teak doing during his downtime?
Oh, first off, he would be putting the electric start in his vehicle at the shop so that he could make sure that he got it done correctly.
Okay.
And then he would be spending the rest of the week moving into a new apartment.
Okay. So not really going to be training any skills this week.
Not this time.
Okay. And yeah, you have no, especially with the guys at the shop to help if there's an issue, you have no problem putting the starter in. A few of the guys really kind of rib you about having waited so long to put it in.
It was fine until I got this big like swollen nose.
Yes, nothing's broken, but yeah. The way it swelled up, it makes it look a little crooked.
Yeah.
That should even back out once the swelling goes down.
Eventually.
Yes. Michael, what are you doing in this week?
He is gonna try to find somebody that can kind of give him training on how to use pistols.
What skill level do you actually need to do that? To be able to train someone?
75% or more.
All right, I'm not high enough for that. I was just thinking I'd check.
Yeah.
But there are
I
gun
don't think you
ranges
have to-
around. You could probably, especially with your resources, you could probably just hire somebody to,
Yeah.
you call around, ask around at a gun club, or just go to one of the
Mhm.
firing ranges outside of town.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. No, I don't need cannon. Ah, here we go. Modern missile weapons. Because there's some I wouldn't be able to use because of my strength.
Well, don't get too modern.
Yeah, so with his strength, he wouldn't be able to use heavy pistols. Because you have to have a strength of 11 for those. So.
I forgot how dainty Michael was.
Yeah, he has a strength of 10. So average.
Yeah.
But I could see
That's
him
true.
using like maybe
A 45,
like
you
a
got a
medium
decent bit of
pistol or
kick
a
to it.
revolver. Yeah. Like Maxi, so he'd either be using like a medium revolver or a medium pistol, probably. I'd have to double check. But anyway. Yes, he would go try to find someone that would be able to train him. I don't know if you want me to just roll a d6.
No, technically you still have to roll, even with a paid trainer, I think you still have to roll the gun skill and fail.
Okay.
So what is your gun skill currently at?
Well, nothing.
Okay, that's where the question came in. All right.
You will fail.
Though
Yeah,
there should
I have a
be-
6. Well, I have a with his combat sort of skill, so I have a 6% chance
Yeah, go ahead and roll
to
it.
succeed.
It could be hilarious.
Uh,
Ooh, you could fumble and then actually, have to roll worse.
I guess I'll just put pistols as the skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
A 0 down because I have no training in it right now, and
An 88 is indeed a failure. Go ahead and roll your d6. Add that to your pistol skill. Ooh, it's now 12%.
okay.
Nobody stand downrange when he's firing.
And I will have to figure out what I want him to carry.
I would say Teak would try and find a gym to learn a martial art, like probably boxing. If that
Boxing's
was
probably
near
the
him.
only one readily available.
Yeah.
There it is.
Too bad. Kobolds can't do professional boxing. They have such a hard time not hitting below the belt.
Ah.
They have the 3 foot and a height limit for the different weights. Kobold, halfling,
Kobolds, halflings, and some of the larger sprites maybe.
yeah.
They really can float like a butterfly. Nothing? No? Okay.
Aduntis.
Or we can go into
sorry, I'm-
international waters and enjoy a kobold knife fight.
I'm putting in the info for a pistol, so
Right.
I was focused on that. But
All right, Leo, what are you doing in this down week?
Just a week. That's not really enough time for me to try to improve my.
You can potentially try to train one something.
Not. No, my actual thing I'm looking at was my POW, because that's what all of my spells are based on.
Okay. Well, your pal basically gets a chance to go up Let's see. I know it does it if you have to resist something with your power and you successfully resist it. Like somebody else trying to do something, some kind of magical something to you.
Okay.
Can't remember if it could actually be just regular old trained or not.
It's,
I'm thinking not because it's a stat, but I'd have to look it up.
Well, you can. So raising your power, it's kind of like mine, where you have to succeed against a contest, like a power contest, against someone that has a higher power level than you.
Okay.
And then you can check it, and then to raise the skill, it is you add your race's minimum power level plus their maximum power level, subtract what your current power is, like your cap basically. What's yours?
Currently mine's a 14.
14.
So I'll have
Okay.
to look.
Yeah, so it'd be an orc's minimum plus orc maximum power level, subtract 14 from that, multiply that result by 5, and then you have to roll under it.
There's a lot of math going on here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a lot.
That is
role-playing-
when you get that whiff of this is from the 1970s.
Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is... You can tell this is an older game system.
All right, let's look at the strange folk.
Not as bad as the heavy gear system, where in the earlier editions, exponents had to be calculated for some stats.
The first point-based superhero game was one called Super Game. Very creative name. You could
Yeah.
potentially have to calculate square roots in creating the characters. For some reason, it didn't catch on.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
It's kind of like when you look at, Battletech still uses much of the original system, which that system is roll 2d6, look at chart.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
All right, and then a door. Let's see,
Yeah, I'm having to stay hyper vigilant because our old man dog had a seizure last night,
Ooh.
and yeah.
If you get up and run
So-
off, we'll know there's a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so an orc's minimum is 7 and max is 15.
So I'm almost at max.
You
Interesting.
are almost at max, yeah.
All right.
So if you are at 14,
You can't go over max, regardless.
Yeah,
No.
so he can
Yeah.
only go up one more point
Dang.
anyway.
Yeah.
yeah, Michael is at cap for a human. He can't go any higher than where he's at. Now that said, I'm not sure if this functions the same for shamanistic magic, so feel free to correct me. I know for psychics, if you learn a skill through training, you lose a point of power.
With
in
me,
order
I'm
to
based...
get it.
Weird, because that's how I learned my new spell of detect magic. It was basically I have to essentially go on a spirit quest and fight a spirit animal.
Yeah.
Okay.
His thing that can cost him POW is awakening his fetch,
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
which is like this spirit. It's not a familiar, but it's kind of this spirit servant thing.
Gotcha.
The more
Yeah,
points you put
'cause
into
I
it,
know-
the stouter it is. So
Yeah, 'cause I know for psychics, to learn a skill through training, you lose a point of power and make a luck roll. If you succeed, then you gain the skill at your new power level plus your mental stat as your base line skill. And then if it's a chromatic awakening, then you lose 2 points. You don't have to make a luck roll, but you awaken the skill at your new power rating times 5 plus your mental stat. So, however, I think the difference between psychic power and shamanistic power is ours can be raised like skills.
Yeah,
More
yours
so
can be raised like
experience.
skills. Mine is entirely dependent on my POW.
Yeah.
Because I basically have to do a POW test anytime I want to do anything.
Gotcha. I mean, I do too. It still costs me power to use.
now there is
abilities.
a limit on the
right.
shaman's. Each point of spirit magic requires 1 point of intelligence to remember. An adventurer's maximum potential memorization equals his intelligence. It doesn't reduce his intelligence or anything.
Yeah.
But I think Patrick knows 2 spells at this point, or 3.
3 total. Yeah.
So he's not
And
exactly
my-
taxing that
2.
yet.
Yeah. And funny enough, my intelligence is a 15, so I'm actually pretty high by orc standards too. My con and size is actually kind of low for orcs though. So
You were the nerd orc.
yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, would you be puny enough that they might call you a goblin? All right, so you had to take.
Okay.
How did you do the? What was that calculation? You took the minimum and the maximum, and did what with
Yes.
them?
So add the minimum plus the maximum, subtract that result by the current power,
14.
multiply that by 5.
So 22 minus 14.
I think it's mathing would end up being a 40 total.
Okay, so it's 9, 15.
You said minus
Yeah.
the 14 from the
Minus the 14 of mine, yeah.
completely added together. Okay, so that's an 8. Oh, right, but then you
Yeah.
can do the times 5. That's right. Yeah, 40.
All right, yeah, so 40. And then you roll, and if you succeed, then your power can go up.
All right, so you need to roll a 40 or lower.
However, this also is contingent on winning a power contest against someone of higher power level than you. So.
Oh, so there isn't just a flat go train,
Mm-mm.
go lift mental weights.
Now,
Okay.
the only reason I was able to bump mine up to 18
One-
from 16 is because I basically strained his mental power to the limit that during that one training thing, and I asked you if it was okay if I could do that, and you okayed it.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah. Well, I could actually get in touch with John Crow, the guy I actually learned the spell from.
That's
That'd be
true.
an
Let me
option.
see. Let me check.
'Cause I actually wrote that down in Families and Friends.
All right, John Crow has got the befuddle spell. Let me see if that would be an appropriate one for him to use to test this. Okay, there's just a straight saving throw sort of thing that you're not really entering mental combat. Let me see what else he's got. How does dispel magic work? Trying to find a spell that you resist with power.
Welcome to Direbear, the thrilling adventures of
Yep.
looking up information.
The thrilling adventures of math.
This because I'm old, who listening to this knows what square one was?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
That
Wasn't it
was
like the before
the
school thing they would play in schools, like before the first period.
square one was like the math PBS show.
Okay, I think that's something else. Though I probably saw the PBS one.
Yeah.
Patrick, is it gonna be okay if I come back to this?
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out whether it's resisting spells or whether it's something else specific.
They could just have a really intense stare off.
That's probably what it would look like from the outside.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy a little bit of prolonged eye contact.
Double check, make sure I got this right.
All right, I have noted it down. It is written legibly even on my notepad, so I will not forget.
Okay.
But yes, we will say you definitely get in touch with John Crow and set up some more training with him.
All right.
Now, also in this week, I know Vivian, Michael will be working on some of his cases.
Mm-hmm.
He's still kind of getting the crappy dinky cases, So if the mayor comes in and sticks his head in the office, the DA can go, oh, no, we've got him working, we've got him on the crap detail. It'll be fine. Vivian, I believe you start practicing with your band, or not your band, but the band at the Gilded Branch.
Mm-hmm. She would do that whatever days of the week she needs to do that.
So yeah. So first part of the week you practice with them a few times, and then by the tail end of the week, you're performing at night.
She tells no one. Well, Lilac knows, but that's about it.
Yeah. Lilac was there for the audition.
Doesn't want a driver.
Afraid Teak might knock himself out again trying to get her there.
He'd have an electric start by then, probably.
She knows very little about cars.
The crank's still there for sentimental reasons.
Pull it off, use it as a weapon.
Well, it's probably tucked
Plus,
under
it makes
the seat.
Makes
Crank
the
food.
car look a little less valuable. That way, no one tries to steal it.
Oh yeah, because people are really going to want to steal the one with the crank. I wonder if there's any surviving ones that you still have to crank with the crank.
There are.
I guess there'd have to be, because there are tons of the Model Ts still around.
Because there's actually an automotive museum in Nashville if you want to check some out. So.
Yeah, and Teak, you're doing your move and you're working at the shop.
And as I said, he was also just gonna find a nearby gym and eventually go there to learn boxing.
Okay.
Starting up boxing.
That nose. Oh, I can just see Teak keep taking punches to the nose.
Just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then
it turns out kobold boxers can suffer from this thing called cauliflower nose.
Actually, I'll say maybe she tries to go practice pistols just so I have something to try and practice.
Okay. She gonna do this on her own, or is she gonna get with somebody?
She would just go to a range.
Okay. And the range people have somebody that will train you.
And she succeeds it, so she does not get to level up.
Okay. All right. So a week has passed. The paper, like I mentioned last time, y'all are a really big deal again. All of a sudden, like I said, there's that big front page picture of somebody kind of leaning out from behind a building, and I think you can really tell, but that's what you figure he must have been. And it kind of gets Salvador's back as he's reloading, and the monster is turning towards Vivian, and Vivian's sitting there playing. So that's kind of, all the news. Both the Longshoremen's Union and the Flynn Shipping Co. Blame each other for the attack.
Mm.
Each accusing the other of hiring, this wizard. Well, they probably use the term sorcerer. They really like to call, like, inventors and electric guys wizards back then. Over this week, the tensions continue to rise. There's a few more little incidents of fist fights on the docks. There've been a couple of protests. The paper's talk like it's really looking like the Longshoremen's Association is going to move on to a strike. But they've also got an election coming up to elect a new president. I believe Eric at least had met one of the people running.
Yes.
Vasily introduced you.
Scroll.
Was it Ben something? Yeah.
I'm trying to find it.
Let me bring up my factions
name.
notes.
Vasily then walks out of an office with a man named Jim and stopped to talk to him. Jim might be running for the Union presidency.
Ben, Jim, I was close. Yeah, Jim Whittier. Whittier? I think. Unless I gave him the wrong name last time. But Jim, all right. Yeah, that's who Vasily seems to be pushing. Guy's been with the Longshoremen a long time. Vasily's an out-of-towner. He's just here helping.
Oh.
He's helping them organize, keeping them motivated.
Yeah.
Encouraging them to seize the means of production, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we will start off with Teak.
Hi.
So you go to work one morning, and around lunchtime, one of your coworkers comes by. Did I give him a name? Give me a name for a coworker. Give me a species and a name.
Me? Oh boy. I think this is like a more human ran mechanic shop, I think. So I'm going to say human.
Said the owner. I believe you had said the owner was human at least.
Yeah, I'm going to say human.
Okay.
And I'm going to say I want to say Phil, just because reasons. You got to have a Phil mechanic.
Phil Human.
Generic,
Hugh.
but hey.
Hugh Man.
It's man with two ends. Yeah. Makes it more of a name. So he comes over. Hey, Teak. Somebody came around asking about you earlier.
Okay. Did you get a name or who they were?
He didn't leave his name. He was wearing a suit and a boater hat. The extended. Like a bowler, but taller.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he just
Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimdale Dimmadome.
and yeah, he just he was asking a bunch of questions and he kind of reaches into his pocket and pulls out a $10 bill. He gave me a 10 spot to not mention it to you.
Okay, well, thank you for mentioning it.
Well, no, I didn't say nothing.
No, I didn't hear a thing.
But like, he asked you how, he was asking like how long you worked here and where you lived. Or if I knew where
He
you
said it was a
lived.
human, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, I told him I used to know where you lived, but you'd moved, and I had no idea now.
Right. Teek's just like a suit and a tall boater hat. I don't know anybody by that description, so.
Yeah, I just, I thought it was a little odd at first, and then when he dropped that kind of dough on me, I knew something was up.
So he just asked about my personal life?
Well, he didn't ask me who you were dating or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have. I told him nobody.
Okay. Any, like, plain looking gentleman or thing?
Yeah, he had a little
Like hair color?
little short, neat beard, little bit of gray in it. He looked late 30s maybe, early 40s.
Okay.
Seemed nice enough,
Weird.
but he looked at me like he was really studying me when I was talking to him.
Well, I mean, I'll see what I can find out. I don't know anybody by that name.
With your side job, I thought something weird I probably need to tell you.
I appreciate it. Oh, wait, you didn't tell me anything.
Right, exactly, yes. Yeah, you see why he's a mechanic and not a spy or undercover officer.
Teek will make no more mention of it.
I know nothing.
Phil will remember that.
Leo, we find you working at your clinic. Probably officially listed as some kind of holistic herbal store. I don't know what kind of hippy dippy stuff they had in the 20s.
Heroin.
Probably just a place that says remedies on the sign.
No claim of being a doctor. I just have remedies.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when they said we need to find a doctor that doesn't ask questions, that I just kind of look around. I'm right here.
They know you're not a doctor. Orcs can't go to medical school. I was just checking, and no, her cocaine was no longer legal in the 1920s.
Yeah, Coke had to get rid of it too. I remember that.
Oh, really? You're older than I thought.
How I got it named.
Oh, heroin would have been legal the previous year.
Opium.
Opium?
I wonder what kind of list these
heroin.
searches are getting me on now.
Yep. I mean, heroin was created as a cure for morphine addiction, so.
Opium may not have become illegal.
Oh, no, I take that back. 1914.
1909 Smoking Opium Exclusion Act. Well, up here though it says 1920s laws passed in 1920s pertained to taxes on persons who imported, manufactured, or deal in opium.
Well, now that we can tax it.
Or maybe it was like a medicinal use thing. So there were exceptions.
Magic mushrooms.
As a shaman, he would probably be into magic mushrooms. But anyway, you've got people coming in. Some of them are just buying stuff. some of them are coming in with an injury, or or they're sick. You are an unofficial doctor that the poor use a lot.
Yeah.
Mostly strange. Well, you have a few humans trickle in every now and then. But as you're looking over her son, you're talking to a Mindy Harbinshire, halfling.
Hold on.
That she spends, as you're looking the boy over, she spends half her time just chit chatting with you, and the other half keeping her other kids like out of your stuff.
Gotcha.
But she's worried. Her husband works down at the docks, and stuff's been getting tense down there, and that monster. Well, of course you know about the monster that showed up.
Yep. And it was a water elemental, but it had a specific name. I can't remember what that
Naiad,
was.
I think.
Naiad, yeah. On the other hand, it looks like that, as far as we can tell, the Naiad was actually under the control of someone. That person is now with the police.
She's like,
Which is
in the police morgue, maybe the paper said somebody strangled him.
which is why I said in the police custody, not specifically how. I was trying to avoid the subject of this guy's dead.
Yeah, well, she's read the paper. She knows this guy's dead, and it's like hot
All
gossip.
right.
She used to talk to somebody that was involved.
Yeah.
But mostly she talks about the stuff on the docks. She seems to be kind of worried about that. It's getting tense. There's already been some fights and some people getting beat up. She's worried about her husband Roy.
Well aware. Some of the other longshoremen have actually come to me already.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, some of the longshoremen came to you, and at the hospital, Charlie ran into some of the Flynn Shipping guys who had gotten hurt. But so yeah, she's worried about the police getting involved and being rough. And the police always come in on the side of the companies. She seems a little worried that the company might just fire everybody, but that's that's not really how these things work.
Yeah.
But she does mention to you that the longshoremen aren't even using their main office anymore. The one that's right there on the docks. According to Roy, they've set up an office somewhere else. Apparently, she claims the company's been hiring like extra goons or something. That's actually her word, goons.
Hired goons.
Roy's a union member, but he's not. He doesn't hold a position in the union, so she figures he's not. Doesn't figure he'll be specifically targeted. But they're getting ready to hold a protest. She's really worried about what's going to go down when they're actually out there marching. She can't talk Roy out of not going.
Yep. And so this would be Roy Hampshire. I'll keep an eye out for him.
Well, she hopes you don't see him, unexpectedly. But yeah, and you look the boy over, and yeah. It's a cold. There's not much you can do for it. Here, give him this for fever,
Yeah.
Make sure he covers his mouth when he sneezes or coughs.
Yep.
Vivian. We find you at the Gilded Branch, practicing with the band.
Mm-hmm.
The club isn't open for lunch or anything. Though a couple, some of the kitchen staff are there, kind of getting ready for the evening. So there is like a staff lunch. It's nothing fancy, but while you are taking a break and you and the band are sitting around eating, somebody comes in. Did I not write it? There it is. Okay. Human, which this club gets a fair mix of traffic, but as he comes in, one of the workers looks up. Hey Mac, we're closed. Oh, I just have a message. I need to speak to a Miss Vivian.
Raises her hand. That'd be me. Like in private, or?
Well, if we
Can
could
we
just
stay
step over
here?
to one side a little bit, we don't have to be behind closed
She
doors.
just nods and gets up, heads over.
He's got a little fedora. He's got a nice pinstripe suit, slight Italian accent. My employer, Mr. Garibaldi, a name you recognize. Liberto Garibaldi. Sometimes referred to, not usually to his face, as Liberto Blind Garibaldi. He's got one, eye that's like fogged over. No charges have ever been filed against him, but it's kind of an open secret that he runs the Italian mob in the city. Now their territory is mostly in kind of that northeastern part of the city. The predominantly human section. Though there are occasionally, butt heads with the Orc mob or the Dwarven Brewers Guild.
But didn't you say the Orc mob also had pinstripe suits? So is it like Italian and Orc with pinstripe suits?
Different tartans.
Mobsters in general back then, for some reason, really liked the pinstripe suits. They were new,
just
kind of
different
expensive,
colors.
so it was kind of a way to show off. So yeah, both guys that actually call themselves mobsters use the pinstripe suits. Dwarven Brewers Guild, not as much.
We're in it for the brew.
Not the fashion.
And really, they only formed up after the Italian mob kind of screwed a bunch of Dwarven bootleggers over. At which point they were like, "Screw it, we'll do for ourselves.
We'll do better."
But anyway, he brings you a message from Mr. Garibaldi. His employer would like to express concern for your group. Well, concern that if they get involved in certain, not business ventures, but some of the politics going on at the dock. He'd be concerned that you getting involved with that might interfere with what you and your friends really need to focus on. He knows that the majority of your group are strange folk, and a lot of the dock workers are strange folk. Where the company, so there's some concern that your group might kind of might take a political stance, based on that. understandable that your sympathies might lean that way, but. And Mr. Garibaldi would just like me to, suggest that you kind of stay out of the politics of the situation. I mean, obviously, if another monster shows up, that's exactly, your thing.
Please relay the appreciation for the message to Mr. Garibaldi and the consideration. But the Bjorn are not typically a political party. We're interested in the safety of everyone involved.
Oh, good. I'm sure Mr. Garibaldi will be be pleased to hear that. I won't take up any more of your time.
Of course. Have a pleasant afternoon.
You too. Oh, and he would have introduced himself as Jefferson Capoza. Capoza? Capoza. Yeah, it's Capoza. That's not a name that you specifically recognize off the top of your head or anything.
Yeah. Don't know every mobster, I just know, like, the top 5.
Well, the top 5 are the ones everybody kind of knows and talks about. Let's see. Michael, would you be working at the DA's office or working on your cases in your own office?
Probably at the DA's office.
All right. So you're working there. A fella comes in. Kind of looks around. Somebody sees him, asks you, if they can help him. He says he's looking for Michael Anderson. Now you sort of turn around and point him towards your desk. He walks up. Mr. Anderson.
Can I help you?
Oh, hopefully. I'm Mr. Davis. Me and some coworkers of mine have been hired by the Flynn Shipping Company. And we know you're, we're hoping to get your cooperation. The mayor seemed to think that the DA would cooperate with us. But we want to speak specifically to you because of your ties to the Bjorn and your fine handling of that creature that the longshoreman, summoned and killed one of my employees. Here, my card. He hands you a card.
Mm-hmm.
It's got his name and all, and then but it's got the name and logo for the Pinkertons Detective Agency.
Okay.
Heard you open Magic of the Gathering packs before the street date.
How dare you? That's actually, if you look up the Pinkertons Wikipedia page, it's actually right there at the bottom of like the most current events they've been involved.
Yep.
Actually, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
He takes the card, studies it for a moment, and is like, is there any evidence of that fact?
Oh no! It is. I will admit, it is a theory at the moment. But I mean, it was a member of the company that was killed, and the company's mostly human, and I mean, not that humans can't play around with deviltry, but
Was it?
Well,
And sorry.
I understand that you are. I understand how your agency operates to an extent. However, from my own experience here working in law, Spreading a rumor without substantiated evidence is not something that is ideal.
Oh, I understand. I understand.
It
I,
is, in
I,
fact,
I was
highly
spreading.
inflammatory.
Well, it's a commonly spoken rumor. I do apologize if I was implying it was factual. Uh, in our business here, we are not investigating what happened. We are here for security reasons. I just wanted to speak with you about cooperation and exchange of information, sort of thing. You and your group have ears to the ground in areas of town that us being both outsiders and humans aren't really going to have access to.
See.
So we were just wanting to open on lines of communication. And if you hear any, well, I assume if you hear any illegal activities, you come here with that. But
first and foremost, I report to the legal authority, which would be the police department
So
of Whitburn.
I would expect nothing else. But if you hear something that might be of interest to me in the pursuit of, protecting the Flynn employees and facilities, I'd really appreciate it if you could pass that along. The mayor seemed to think it wouldn't be a problem when we spoke to him, but I realize he's not day to day in charge in the DA's office.
I see. Well, that would depend on a few factors. So long as such information does not cause an inflammatory reaction within the city, I don't see a reason why I couldn't. However, allow me to offer you this first and foremost. Your job here is, as you stated, security.
Mm-hmm.
Your job as security would go a lot smoother if you did not spread unsubstantiated rumors further. All that will do is inflame tempers and opinions, and thus your job as security becomes less of just making sure that no one gets hurt on the job to having to potentially put down people because things were spread that were untrue. You are outsiders in the city, and if you become a problem, I take you understand my meaning.
Absolutely. Again, I apologize. The people I've been talking to at the docks, they spoke like this was common knowledge. I do apologize. I will be more careful to be completely factual.
Good. In that case, take a seat.
No, he sits there.
Now, while it was a member of the company that did end up dead, it is the opinion of both myself and the police department, on the officers of the police department that I worked with, that the union is not at fault. Because, if I might be quite blunt, no one would be stupid enough to dump a body on their own doorstep. It is.
When I first heard the story, I thought it odd they would have done it quite so closely, unless it was just a quick, in the passion in the moment or whatever.
It is of both our opinions that it is a third party attempting to incite heightened tensions between both groups. If you wish to protect your employers better, then that would be something to look into.
We will keep that in mind. Any ideas what other party would benefit from kicking off a labor dispute? Well, I shouldn't say kick off, heightening the tensions in a labor dispute.
I have no information onto that as of present. When we started our own investigation as under the capacity of the Bjorn of the city, whomever is responsible shifted their attention from members of the company to us.
Somebody did, so assuming this is a third party, they were not happy with your involvement.
They were not. Quick question, out of character.
Mhm.
Has the details? I assume like the police, they're not like kind of cracked down on the fact that the summoner basically got garroted.
The paper said he was strangled. They did not go into any more
Okay.
details than that.
All right. So, me trying to figure out like what he would say in this scenario.
Mhm.
Okay, back in. Yes, that is correct. Considering once he was found out and driven off, he was summarily strangled.
Yes, and that was Alistair Brooks, I believe his name was.
Correct.
Yes, we have him in our rogues gallery. He's a known practitioner of magic for hire. And
Formally.
to be fair, the police would have come up with this in that downtime week. The police would have come up with that information.
Yeah.
The Pinkertons rogues gallery was almost like a precursor to the most wanted list that the FBI would later do. Guess who did a deep dive on the Pinkertons today?
Gee, I wonder.
By deep dive, I mean read the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
That's good enough for an RPG.
So that would be my suggestion to you. And if you want your job to go smoother, so you can get paid with a minimized risk of incident, I would advise your employers to not spread unsubstantiated rumors as well.
I will spread that up the chain, and I'll tell the men under me certainly to button their lips about that.
I'm absolutely going to incite that. Okay.
Let's see. Is there... Nah, no resistance for that. So he's pretty good at keeping a poker face. You know, he's put on a good front. Even you kind of pick up. Yeah, I think beneath that though, I don't think he likes being lectured to. But you don't think he's necessarily lying about anything.
Okay.
You know, you're not sitting there going, well, he's obviously not going to tell anybody. No, you just get the impression he's a bit miffed. But you keep going back to that.
He got set in his way. He knows what he's in for.
He's gonna go back tell his guys, boy, that DA guy's a bit wound up. I don't think stick up their backside was an expression.
Please don't make me look it up.
I was resisting
Well,
the
now you
urge
have
myself.
Fine, I will. What, stick it up your backside, you said?
But yeah, you know, if you find out, you know, like if you find out the workers are planning of, well, I suppose they're planning any vandalism that falls under crime again, and you take care of that. Well, he goes, I can't think of specifics, but just anything that might be a danger, anything extra we could prepare for, like you mentioning a third party. So we need to keep an eye out for more than just irate workers.
Yeah.
Uh,
The earliest non-literal occurrences of the phrase refer to people bearing imposture and by extension to a certain formal or pompous attitude come from the 1970s.
I figured it was a little too crude for the 20s.
Yeah, you made me look it up because you brought it up.
I think it was also translated from German, which makes sense.
And that's true. Yes.
So he thanks for your time. He tells you, that's his office number. They can take messages and that he can check. And if he's like, if you turn over in the back, he's handwritten his hotel, the hotel he's staying in. He's handwritten his room phone. If he's got a room with his own phone, Pinkertons are probably getting paid pretty well.
Yeah.
Either that or maybe he's in charge of the operation. So. But he thanks you for your time.
Have a good day.
You as well, sir. And as he leaves, you see another Pinkerton agent, outside in the hallway, waiting on him.
Michael just sighs and rubs Bridget's nose.
Yeah, one of your coworkers kind of comes by. What was that all about?
So apparently, the shipping company has hired them.
He looks over and he sees the Pinkerton card. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. They're dealing with the unions. The Pinkertons are known for union busting.
And I was advising them to not spread unsubstantiated rumors and inflame tensions between both groups.
Oh, yeah, because when these kind of things kick off, everybody's so level-headed.
Well, I did try to appeal to them getting paid with minimal risk.
Well, he has to appreciate that.
And that keeping a lid on things would improve that chance.
Well, if they're really here just for security, that
I hope that's all they're here for.
I heard about some union. Oh crap! I'm blanking on which union it was they infiltrated that time. But he brings up some news story where the Pinkertons had basically infiltrated a union.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not involved in that. The company bringing in the Pinkertons feels like an escalation.
Oh, it absolutely is. Apparently, they're blaming the death of one of their own on the Union.
Well, yeah, that is the first person you think would do it. It's just the whole left them on their own doorstep part that's like...
Yeah. I mean, you and we've dealt with enough criminals that even the newbies aren't that dumb.
Well, yeah, sometimes they're right now.
Well, they'll slip up in court, absolutely. I mean, you saw the one with the vandalism case I dealt with last week.
Yeah. Yeah, we all had a good laugh about that one.
Apparently, Estella Voss was there.
Really? I'd have figured
Yeah,
she was as far from you as possible.
I saw her in the back of the court smirking up a storm until I got him to slip up, and then she scowled and left.
Oh, she was there watching you be in the doghouse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think somebody with that kind of money would have better things to do.
Never underestimate how spiteful some people can truly be.
Yeah. Hell hath no fury and all that.
Yeah. I learned that lesson very early in life.
That gets you a look. Because I don't imagine Michael's real open with his coworkers about his past.
He's not, no.
So that kind of gets a look like, do continue.
A very no-nonsense mother.
Ah,
Extremely so.
he's like, yeah, one of my grandmothers was like that.
Anyway, I guess we both better get back to work. We have some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Have
he
a good
goes
day.
off to whatever he was doing. All right.
Hope you know I'm putting in that this Pinkerton agent apparently seemed annoyed by getting a lecture into my notes. Simply because you brought it up.
That was Mr. Davis.
Oh, that was his name. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
So Agent Davis. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I wonder if they'd call themselves agent. I guess they would call themselves agent. I don't know.
I don't know if they do. That's just how I'm going to put it in my notes.
All right. Is anybody going to hit the Bjorn office during the day?
I'll run by there.
Okay. You go by there. Dorothy's in there doing some work. It's like she swings by this place anytime Michael is working at the actual DA's office.
That's interesting. And I usually kind of do a hello.
Oh, hello, Mr. Leo. I've been meaning to ask you, well, not you specifically, but any of you. Are we supposed to be charging people? Like, I know Mickey did at least some of the time. But then he was here as a private detective in addition to...
At present, most of this is pro bono work.
Okay. I mean, that makes sort of sense. But we've been getting people calling about... She, like, pulls out a notepad. It's like every little old lady that hears a weird noise at night has been calling. I've been trying to weed out the ones that,
Well, we can't look into all of them, but mass does have a quality. If you can track down all of the... One thing you could do, because that meatpacking plant was there for a while before those creatures were discovered. If he can start tracking all of the reports, we might be able to determine what actually is real and what's not.
Okay. She's looking around at some of the walls. I could put up a cork board over there. We need a map of the city. And some yarn.
Red yarn.
That's a good place to start, and... Actually, hold on one moment. I actually go down to my car and bring out like an old street map. It's what I have, but it's at least a place to start.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine. She starts looking at the addresses.
Question. Like, what day would this be? And I assume they would know that she's going there. Like when he's at the DA's office. Because if Teak found out that she's going there like every day, he would like show up with a coffee for her and then go to
She's
work
not
or
there
something.
every day.
Yeah, but like he would show up with like a coffee for her if he knew she was going to be there.
Then yeah, you're probably coming up with a coffee as Leo runs down to get his map and comes back.
No, hey Leo.
Hey, Teak.
So yeah, so you give her, oh, thank you, T. She's sipping on that. When he comes back, he puts it up. She brings out a notepad, starts checking, putting push pins in. She's like, a lot of these are just, they heard something in the alleyway or, It's really spiked up since this past week. After that newspaper article. She's got the newspaper with the big picture of Vivian and Salvador and the monster.
It's framed.
Yeah.
She doesn't have it in a frame yet. She's just got it pinned to the wall at the moment.
What?
We should get a frame for that.
She's like, "Do we have a budget for that?"
I don't know.
We
Tig just sits on the couch.
We have that
unfortunately did
frame money.
the whole pro bono work. No. We may have to start, in other words, pooling resources or not. So
So she's using little green push pins for all the calls that she thinks are just people being flaky or
yeah,
nutty or whatever. And they're just scattered all over the southern part of town.
Just 25 of them are lilac calling.
From voices.
It would not surprise me in the least. Lilac just like calling to basically troll us, just like, "Hey, I hit it," and just. I'm here
Lilac
for
ain't
it.
got time for that. Lilac got a full-time job now.
He ends up calling, and it's like she starts putting the push pins in the map, and it just spells out lilac because it's like the alleyways.
That would be hilarious if that was the case. If part of all of the calls just spelled out Lilac's name. We all come in, Vivian looks at it, is like,
Damn it.
I always knew she was the big bad.
But so yeah, push pins go in. Like I said, most of them are scattered around kind of the southern area, the more strange folk neighborhoods. But there is one pin that goes in way up north around Little Girl's Point. And that one she puts in with a yellow pin.
significance.
Well, this person didn't say they had necessarily seen, seen anything weird. Well, I mean, they didn't say they'd seen a monster. They found some weird footprints. Or hoof prints.
And most of the brew were hooved, if I remember correctly.
The majority of them were. Yeah, not every brew you saw did. Some of them had paws. But there were a lot
because they were a mix of like human and animal. So
yeah. But you did have a lot of them,
callback?
the bovine ones. I beg pardon?
Teak was just going to look up. It's like, did you get a callback number for that one?
No, they just called in. It was a lady that found the prints. She didn't leave her number. She just knew that y'all investigated monsters. And like she thought it was too big to be too big to be a goat or something. But it wasn't like the one solid hoof. It wasn't one solid hoof like a. She said it wasn't one solid hoof like a horse would be, but it was about the size of a horse's. She had just heard about y'all and figured that's where she should report that sort of thing in.
No, she wasn't wrong. That might actually need to be something looked into. Unfortunately, from experience, none of our group actually has any good deal of tracking.
But she tried to explain where it was exactly. Near the shore, in the park, in Little Girl's Park, or Little Girl's Point Park. Gave near the shore, described a couple, like I said, she tried to give us some landmarks where we might be able to find it.
Little Girl's Point, is it a park or is it just like an area?
There is an area of town they call Little Girl's Point, but there's also Little Girl's Point Park.
Okay.
So
is
like
that meant?
Okay, here.
Is that meant for like? Trying to think of the words. is that like a kids park or is that just a generic park in the area?
It started off where somewhere you could go camping.
Hmm.
And it's still kind of that, even though the city has expanded and grown and kind of enveloped it.
Yeah.
But it does have part of the waterfront there, so.
Okay.
And Jason, remind me, where was the initial encounter with the brew at? It was like around this section, wasn't it?
No. It was way south of there. That's all up in the
Okay.
human territory. Now it was down here, I think, on somewhere. I think that was the stream it was around.
I think it was Brown's Mill because that's where all the. I think it was down
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
because that's where all of the.
Yeah, but that
Meat packing
this stream
plants
there
were, yeah.
is where all the paper mills and slaughterhouses and stuff dump their refuse.
Yeah, that was our first
it was
encounter with
somewhere
the
kind of
brew.
along there. But yeah, it was in the Browns Mill area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think y'all did have evidence that at least one or two may have gotten away. Yeah, because I think Salvador tried to track them and didn't have much luck.
Yeah.
If anything, it's something to look into with with the others.
Yep. Well, keep up the good work. Hopefully, we might be able to figure out what's good and what's a bad call.
It's like, yeah, I wish
Thank you for your help, Miss Dorothy.
Oh, it's something to do. With Michael kind of in the doghouse with the DA, he's got to go into their office a little more often, so I've got free time.
Well, you're basically doing it for free because I don't think we're able to pay you unless
No, I'm still
Michael is.
I'm going to see
Yeah.
how long it takes Michael to notice I'm billing him for this.
Oh.
I'll say nothing.
It's on her. He noticed. He just lets it happen.
She's fine with that too.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm fooling him. Maybe I'm not. As long as the check cashes.
As long as I get paid.
That's how I live my life.
Her brother left her enough to take care of the necessities. She just has to work for her mad money.
Yee.
But she's like, it is early in the day. I could probably drive over to the park.
I'd rather you not go alone.
It's the middle of the day.
I don't. That doesn't stop some things.
That's true. The sun was up when that water thing attacked you. Still a little miffed that I get to meet the mermaid.
Oh, you might have another chance. I think. Were we supposed to meet the mermaid again?
Oh yeah, I think y'all were supposed to have met her the next day.
Yeah.
Because she was going to she was going back to her pod to see if.
But we were meeting her like way down here, far from.
Yeah.
The dock.
Yeah, it was like a little neighborhood park, more of a kid's little neighborhood park that she was close to.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all would have met up with her during the downtime week. And her father, who was not who did not come off as very happy that she had gone and got herself involved with landlubbers. He seemed a little more tolerant of it when he found out that y'all were the Bjorn, though. And other than that, he's basically his pod is willing to cooperate with y'all as far as let you know if he sees it, if they see anything weird, or though the idea of a killer naiad in the lake is not pleasing to him. They literally made their way to this place to get away from all the conflicts going on in the Atlantic. he doesn't go into details, but he vague mentions. You can get the impression that there's like a war going on underwater.
Lovely.
Interesting.
Uh, so to get here, and pleasantly find that the lake is basically empty, of anything intelligent. They were real happy with that. And then his daughter came back yesterday been yesterday when they all met him, with stories of a killer naiad, which is odd. Usually, naiads are not particularly violent. I mean, they can be if you mess with them, but because as scary as it may have been for you, imagine for us, because once they're in the water, you can't see them. All right, so how long do y'all hang around with Dorothy? Well, you know what?
What time of day?
Oh yeah.
Just real quick, what time of day would have this been? Like the afternoon, I assume.
When would Teak have been likely to swing by?
He would have if he knew that she was going to be there, he would have dropped her off a coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Before he goes to work.
Okay.
Maybe talk to her for a bit and then go to work.
All right. Vivian.
Yeah.
So you have your nice little talk with with Jefferson, and he takes off. Some of the band guys are like, boyfriend?
No.
Oh, okay.
Someone with a message.
One of the older guys, the sax player, he sounded kind of Italian. You're not in any trouble, are you?
No, just people trying to give warnings, thinking they're being considerate.
One of the other guys like, in trouble? She fights monsters.
Not on purpose.
I think trouble's just going to be a thing.
Hand over heart, I will do my very best to never bring any trouble here.
I solemnly swear not to burn this place down.
One of the guys is
match.
like, oh, she just jinxed us. Another one's like, oh, she's speaking the evil into existence. They don't sound serious, though.
Throws a napkin at him.
So what does Vivian get? What would Vivian get into after practice?
Probably more trouble. What time of day is it, and how far away is the orc mob's building?
All right, so you were eating lunch when they showed up, or when Jefferson showed up, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Not they. You didn't see any they.
I saw no they.
So yeah, I think we said the club was up around Middleton, kind of the south end of Middleton, somewhere there-ish. And yeah, Boss
Marduk,
thank you. Knew it was like an old Babylonian name or something. I want to say he's like down here.
Okay, she'll get to hoofing it, make sure that no one's following her, kind of thing. Take a roundabout way.
Give me a spot check.
Where the heck is my character sheet? Let's reopen it. Yes.
All right.
I can see sound.
No, not quite.
And hear light.
That would be torture.
I can hear color.
All right. You don't notice it right away,
Hmm.
but after a while, you're like, I think I keep walking past that car. For that car, or a car very like that has passed me periodically.
She'll try and, if she can, make note of the driver, just to see if it follows her any further. Is the office like between the Gilded Branch and Boss Marduk's?
Y'all's office, let's see, I believe I said that was in. Ooh, I'm blanking on where I said that was.
Or she could just
I think the answer
ultra-course
is
to go
yes.
to it.
I think you might have to veer. It might not be straight
Yeah.
line connecting, but yeah.
She could adjust course easily enough
So I want
if
to
she
say it was
needed
either
to.
Windburn, or like
Yeah.
the very northern area of Brown's Mill. Once you've gotten away from the actual mills, somewhere in this general neighborhood. I just don't remember which side of the road.
Left or right? Left or right?
Take a left, right.
She'll keep walking and just kind of make random turns and see if she spots that vehicle again. Again, making note of the driver if she can.
It gets easier and easier to spot.
Okay.
I mean, not that they're being any more obvious. It's just you really got to look out for that particular model of car and color of car.
She'll, if it has a license plate or anything distinguishing, she will make note of that.
Okay.
And alter course to go to the office.
Okay. So you get to the office. Let's see, if Teak was there in the morning, he'd be going back to work probably, because you're there after lunch.
Either back to work or they'd be going up to the little girls' Point Park.
So you get to the office, and there's a street map of the city on the wall with all these little push pins in various colors in it. No string yet.
That's new. She resists the urge to move around anything on it.
We'll just make a smiley face here. The Jesus
Lilac.
fish over here.
Dorothy comes in a sudden suplex.
And you see a notepad on the table where it looks like somebody's been taking out a bunch of addresses and reports of weird sounds and whatnot. Though she's got one circle which is where the woman described the footprint she found.
Okay, she'll make a note of that and.
Dorothy is not there when you get there.
Okay. She'll peek out the window, see if the car has wandered on by or not.
All right, as you're standing there watching, you see it drive by.
Okay. Again, since she's in the office, she'll write down license plate, color, make, model, what the driver looks like, etc.
Okay.
And
the driver was just a dude in a suit with a hat.
Dude in a suit with a hat.
Like most
human dude?
dudes, like the most dudes in the city. Yes.
Okay. You know what? She'll call Boss Marduk.
All right. Receptionist answers. And she identifies it as the apartment building you're calling, basically.
What does Boss Marduk go by a first name at all, or is just Boss Marduk?
You've never heard him referred to as anything except Boss Marduk.
Okay.
His name is Boss Marduk.
Not even Teak,
his friends call him Boss.
Steve Marduk. We're like, yes, I was wondering if Mr. Marduk was available.
Who may I say is calling?
This is Vivian.
Of course, ma'am. I will pass the message pass the message along and see if he is available.
Thank you.
I forget, what is Vivian's last name again?
She'd give Rosenberg,
Okay.
which would be her parents' name, not her married name.
Yeah. I do remember she switched back to her maiden name. So a little later, you hear Marduk's voice. Miss Rosenberg, to what do I owe the pleasure?
A professional curiosity and a theoretical debate a few of myself and my colleagues are having.
Okay. I'm assuming
There
there's a
are.
point.
There is. There's two parties that are having a disagreement on how things should be run, which, of course, is common. And things are getting a bit heated. A third party has come out of the woodwork, so to say, and is advising us to basically mind our own business.
None of my people have been sent to tell you to keep
No,
your nose clean.
none of your people, of course. None of the She's trying to be discreet over the phone. None of the other gentlemen we dealt with last month either. None of that party.
These folks are more of a human persuasion, but in a similar line of business to myself.
Yes, similar, maybe competitors, I would say. Very marginal competitors, of course.
Well, they have, if this is the little disagreement.
They're from the north.
Yes. If it's the disagreement I'm thinking of, they do have some business interests in that area. In fact, one of the parties in your disagreement, not the, largely strange folk portion, do have some close ties to the people that came to talk to you.
Okay.
Exactly how close, I'm not sure.
Well, our group tries to remain neutral, as you've seen. It is largely strange folk that would be affected by this, and it is difficult to remain neutral.
Yeah. Humans have done us wrong plenty, so yeah, I can see it being rough for everybody except the law dog. Well, no, law dog would be an expression at the time. Everybody except your DA friend probably has a hard time with this.
Possibly. I come seeking advice, perhaps, or at least counsel. We want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, but we also don't want to overreach, as it was. Since it is more of a business venture that is being disagreed on, we're wondering, or at least I'm wondering, I have not discussed this with others as of this moment, how prudent it would be.
To stay neutral in the conflict? He goes, I really don't know what you could do unless you were to go out and protest with them. Or go out and beat protesters with them, whichever side you took.
Alas, I don't think I'm that skilled in combat.
I wouldn't advise you going out of your way to agitate these other fellows.
No.
I mean, I will on occasions, but I have an entire organization.
You have a bit larger party to pull from.
Uh, you know, they'd have a lot less trouble with 7 people. Not that I don't think you could be a troublesome 7 people.
They're more mentally troublesome, I think, than physically troublesome.
Is there anything else?
No, I apologize for taking up your time. I'm trying to get a fresh perspective on it, see if it may help.
Yeah, the Italians don't usually. They'll try to sell stuff down here, ease in on us. They don't usually get too involved in strange folk affairs. But that dock's kind of a meeting point where their interests and ours tend to run into each other.
Out of character question. Was the person that summoned the elemental, was that a human?
He was human.
Yes.
By chance, would you know if they retain anyone skilled in summoning?
Not to my knowledge. Garibaldi likes to present himself as a good Catholic. And doesn't have much to do with magic.
Okay.
I think he's a little
Superstitious.
I'd say scared, but it's definitely not the word he used. Superstitious might be the word he'd use. He's a little concerned.
Okay. Thank you for your insight. I appreciate it.
Of course. Just don't make a habit of it.
Absolutely not.
And he just hangs
Have
up.
a pleasant evening. Hangs up. She's like, well, that didn't help at all.
Oh, you got a little bit of information.
Yeah, she got information, but she's still like, do we help the folks? Do we not help the folks? Things are going to happen outside of our purview of supernaturals. She'll look at the one pin further north and be like, just take down the address. And she's not going to go that way. But she might go down to the diner and get something to eat or something and make sure she doesn't see that vehicle for a while before going anywhere else.
And you quickly associate that pin with the footprint, call.
One thing I would like to do when he mentions that footprint, I'd like to look up how to do a plaster cast. This is something that actually...
Yeah, I get.
Going to the library.
Yeah.
The trick is, let's see, in the war you would have worked with plaster some probably.
Yeah.
That's a little different than how you'd make a cast in the ground. So yeah, it sounds like Leo's hitting the library.
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's several libraries in town.
Or the police station? Did they?
Forensics.
I'm throwing straws here.
Yeah, forensics at the time were probably not.
Yeah, but plaster cast isn't real high tech, and they were already doing like
Yeah.
They were doing fingerprints. They were doing checking out the bullets to see what gun fired it, kind of stuff already.
Yeah.
I don't know when like Bigfoot sightings started up and all that.
What most people know is like 60s, 70s.
Yeah, but folks doing dinosaur stuff were already taking casts. I'm pretty sure of that. But yeah, as far as getting to the police, though, yeah. So yeah, probably the library.
All right.
You know, books on paleontology and how they do the cast would probably be your best bet.
Yep.
So, after your talk with Dorothy, and Teak, that's probably what you did for part of the day.
Yeah.
Michael, what are you doing when you get off work?
That is a good question. Since I added one into my inventory, he's gonna go find. And I went and looked up 1920s medium pistols. He's gonna go find a Colt M1 911.
It's the 1911. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty standard gun. Still in production now, I think.
Oh yeah, because it was introduced just prior to the war.
I think it was the standard police issue for a while, wasn't it? Or maybe it was the Army that was using them.
The Army was using them. Most police used revolvers. Because they were lower maintenance.
No, that's fair.
But he's gonna go find one of those. And ammo.
Okay, well, you don't have any trouble, City this size is going to have gun shops.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what all other stores would sell them. I know at one point hardware stores were selling Thompsons.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably more than Michael could handle.
Probably. Yeah, no, he's gonna get a 911 ammo, find a holster or something he can have on him.
With your level of resources, it's not a strain to go buy this stuff.
Considering what stuff they keep running into, he's like, I need to have this thing strapped on me at this point.
So you're going for
Will I
a
be good at
waist
it? Who knows?
holster or one of those under the jacket holsters?
Under the jacket.
Okay. The clerk selling it to you, oh yeah, you put it in like this, that, and the other. It'll cause a bulge in your suit unless you get your suit specially tailored.
Yeah. Well, he's keeping it more like when he has the where he's have his coats, when he's going out a monks with the Bjorn.
Mhm.
So and he's gonna get one of those and then also get one fitted for just a waist holster too. So he can kind of swap between them as needed.
Okay. So you have your little shopping trip.
Mhm.
Vivian, you get down to the diner without any issue. And you don't see the car again.
That sounds like a good enough reason to celebrate with a piece of pie.
Well, the lady running the diner is more than happy to serve you a piece of pie. And chit-chat with you about, water monsters and all this.
Yeah,
Like I said,
she'll
it's big
chit-chat local rumors, see if anything comes up.
Everybody's talking about the not just the monster at the docks, but that strike that's coming up. She just sort of shakes her head. Those people should be grateful to have jobs.
Have jobs, but also be treated fairly by them.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they're whiners. Who knows? What other scuttlebutt was there? Other than that, it's been quiet in this neighborhood.
Hmm.
You know, she you know, in talking about the monster, she does ask you if uh you found out why that sorcerer was doing this.
Unfortunately, with them being deceased when we found them, there wasn't much we could ask them. So I think that lead went cold for now.
Oh,
From what I understand, that the police are still, looking for further leads on the gentleman that may have killed him.
oh yeah. I read that APB. No, I've
So
had 5 or 6 people in here just today that would have fit that description.
yeah, he's delightfully plain, which
Suspiciously
maybe on
ordinary.
purpose.
She's like suspiciously ordinary.
Yeah, she's like, some people just have that face that blends in, and he may be one of them.
Give me a spot check.
Spot has been checked.
There's a guy just a couple tables over.
He looks like a man.
He does.
Suspiciously vague.
He's an elf. And he just, it's like he just stops eating. And you know, about the time y'all start talking about this, you know, this suspiciously plain man, it's like he just sort of stops eating and just looking at y'all, and I mean, just looks tense all of a sudden.
She'll kind of play it off, like, I'm sure whoever did it's probably long gone. Honestly, if I was going to, theoretically, of course, murder anyone, I wouldn't stay in town afterwards.
Does this nondescript man also look just like the man we met at the door?
No, this is an elf.
Oh, okay.
This is a fairly run of the mill elf. Yeah, this is. He goes back to eating. Comes up to the counter, pays his bill. Before he leaves, he looks at you, ma'am. There's rumors of hey, I don't know how long you've been in town. I know the Bjorn have been. I know you've been with the Bjorn since the beginning of the year, but have you heard
Been in
any
and
of
out
the
of town.
rumors about the Invisible Men?
Has she heard any of the rumors of the Invisible Men?
You have not. This is the first time you've heard the term Invisible Men.
I'll admit that one is new to me. Notions to the seat or the bar stool next to her.
He sits down. It may just be rumors, but there have been a few weird deaths of people that were witnesses to a crime or becoming inconvenient for powerful people. And they always just wind up, dead in their room, and nobody sees anything usually. But some of the rumor there, and he names off. Quick, I need a random name.
Female or male?
Doesn't matter.
Michael Lewis.
Michael, but spelled like sensible people spell Michael. Lewis.
Now the PH is silent.
Herman Terrace.
Steve Stevenberg.
Born tomorrow.
But he mentions this Michael Lewis that he had gotten some dirt. He knew Michael. Michael had gotten some dirt on one of the paper mill companies.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just started talking to the DA's office about it. And he's like, the last time I talked to Michael, he was afraid he was being followed. So he stopped staying in his apartment and was staying somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And they just found him, dead in dead in his the little hotel room he was staying in or whatever. But there was a lady across the hallway from him that claimed, like you were talking about, just a very normal person showed up. And I've talked to her. Michael's a friend of mine, but after that, I've been very quietly asking around. Just anytime I hear of something happening, and there's been another one or two instances where it seems to have happened right around the time of one of these, very plain. One lady described it as a plain businessman. Always in a suit, always in a hat, not necessarily the same, hat.
Yeah.
But always that kind of, business, office sort of apparel.
All the other stories you've heard, have they been connected to any particular person or just people in power?
The last one I talked to, I talked to his wife. I didn't, once I heard what had happened to him, he was involved in a case against,
Stellar Force.
Does Vivian mumble that name?
No, she doesn't. But it's the player going like, "Son of a bitch."
But he worked for rich lady, highfalutin, hangs out with the politicians stuff.
Mrs. Voss?
Yes, Estella Voss. Yes, and he's as he says her name, he's already whispering. As he says his name, his voice gets lower. I hear she also had an interest in the paper mill. I don't think she owned it outright. I think she was, I think she had invested in it or something though.
It's possible.
But I've kind of stopped my investigations though. I think I've been followed, or maybe just all the stories I've been hearing from people. Maybe I'm getting paranoid.
She will pull over a napkin and write down the number for the Bjorn office. If you think of anything, or if you feel like you need some assistance or protection, she'll also write down. Oh Lord, what? Did they get the number of the detective they were dealing with at Winburn? Or she would at least know the name, and she could just put the police department
Detective
number.
Greg Cole. Yes.
Yeah, she'll
Y'all got his
also write that
personal.
number down.
It'll go to his desk kind of phone or his office phone number. Yeah.
She'll also write that one down. If you need help, maybe at a time that we are not in office, which unfortunately it's rare that we're all there. This gentleman, he is at the Winburn Police. He may be able to assist you.
Yeah, he's always a little hesitant to call the police, but certainly if there's an emergency, and this is somebody that you trust.
He seems to be on the up and up with us, so help is better than nothing.
Well, thank you. I was seriously considering leaving town, but can't really afford
to. Unable to find a job or move a family.
Well, it's spur of the moment, so he hasn't had a chance to look for a job anywhere else. And he's got, he's got a job here.
If it comes to that, come speak to me. I would rather you feel safe elsewhere than in danger here.
Oh, but thank you. He's hoping if he stops poking around that they'll.
Yeah, let other people poke for now. But if you hear anything, you know how to get a hold of us.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll be sure to let you know.
Thank you.
And he seems to look like he's feeling a little better as he leaves.
Kind of rubs her bridge of her nose once he leaves. Okay.
You look up, and the lady behind the counter. She's been cleaning the counter. But you realize she's been cleaning that same spot for that whole.
That spot is
spot
the
is
cleanest in the
like-
store.
And like
the
about the time you notice
linoleum
that,
has
she
worn
notices
off.
you notice it, and she slides further down the.
It's fine. She will pay for the piece of pie that she had, and
And she tells
I-
you, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that guy. I mean, the Invisible Man has been just a spook story for the past year or two, or a couple of years around here. So
everyone thought the brew were a child's story to scare us into cleaning our rooms, but we saw how that turned out.
that's fair. I guess the world's stranger than I like to think, and I already thought it was pretty strange.
Yeah. An ounce of caution saves a pound of pain. Never hurts to have the notes. She's gonna. Do they have a phone? Yeah, they have a phone up in the office.
They have a phone. Yeah, y'all have a phone in the office. There's a pay phone down here in the diner.
You know what? On the benefit of anonymity, she probably has at least the shop for Teak. She'll call. She's gonna start the phone tree and try and figure out where everyone is.
All right, Teak would probably still be at the shop. Because this would be, you left
After lunch.
the club like right after lunch, so this is still afternoon. He's probably getting close to quit time, but Carl, what was the name of the mechanic shop again, or did we ever name it?
I don't think we ever gave a name. Oh God.
The Rusty Wrench.
I've got a name if you don't have one.
Go for it. Because I feel like wouldn't it, because it's a human ran, don't most in the 19s, 20s, like it's the name and then mechanic shop? Isn't that usually how it is?
O'Neill's Mechanic Shop was exactly what we're going for.
That's what I thought.
The other option I was going to
Go ahead.
go with serviceable mechanics.
Passable excellence.
Mediocres.
So yeah, so somebody answers the phone. It rings a few times. Somebody answers the phone, and you can hear, wrenches. Well, I don't know, did they have impact wrenches then? You can hear equipment being used in the background.
Well, we're gonna look it up now.
To Google. Hi, is
O'Neill's
Teak
Mechanic
available?
Shop. Yeah, he hadn't left yet. Hold on just a second, ma'am. And you can tell he just, puts the phone to his chest. Teak, there's a lady for you.
It's like, a lady? What?
I don't know. As you get closer, he's like, I don't know. She sounds pretty.
Okay. This is Teak.
Hey, Teak, it's Vivian.
Oh, hey, Vivian.
I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman.
Okay.
Maybe a place we can all meet. Do you have suggestions? You're the first on the phone tree I've called.
What about the office?
I mean, that would make sense, honestly. Just if you could head this way once you get done with work. Would you get off
Yeah,
the-
I'm almost done for the day, so just
Okay.
finishing something up and then I should be good.
Yeah, just swing on by. I'll
Sure thing.
get a pot of coffee to bring up.
No worries. Be there
Uh,
soon.
Goes down the phone tree. Tries to get a hold of everyone.
All right, Michael is out shopping.
Leaves a message with Dorothy.
Dorothy's in our office.
Well, no, she was not in the office anymore when Vivian got there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't
She
hear
calls
that.
the office upstairs, leaves a message with Dorothy.
But Michael's, home office or whatever, his personal office, that phone has probably got an answering service that takes care of things when there's, nobody there.
Impact wrenches didn't appear until the early 20th century.
And we are in the
We're in the. I know this.
Well, like it was like late 1900s from what I can find. Like there's no one who gives an exact year or anything that I can find.
Yeah, maybe one of the things where you're not really sure exactly when they became,
common.
common. Like we were
imagine
looking at
factories
TV a
went
while
down.
back, and TV goes back quite a ways,
Yeah.
but took a while to catch on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, she would leave a message with Teak. Also, mind your surroundings on the way here, please.
Will do. Well, after yesterday's interaction, yeah. Anyway, sure.
Click. Similar message
will-
to everyone.
all right.
He will keep an eye out on his surroundings as he gets in his car.
Mm.
Before you leave, though, fella that answers the phone was like, "So, Vivian? Oh, wait, she's in that little group with you. Oh, yeah, I've seen her name in the paper."
Yep. And no, he just walks.
I didn't even ask. I mean, what, is she
You
married
thought
or
it.
something?
I don't know. Maybe I haven't asked.
I would ask if I was you.
Not my type.
Which gets other mechanics going, what? Who's not Teek's type? Teek, are you messing with a married woman? Don't let Miss O'Neill hear that. You'll never hear the end of it.
Just gets roasted by Miss O'Neill. Grabbed by the ear.
Just I never do that. Ow! Ow!
Marriage is a sacred oath.
U.S. patent issued 1935 for an impact tool.
Okay. So somebody
A
was
little
probably
bit.
experimenting with him at this time, but
There's a crazy orc somewhere.
that's just the first noise I think of when I think of a mechanic shop.
Mhm.
Second noise, lots of cussing.
A fair amount.
After the incident, you just see Miss O'Neill carrying Teak out, and then she just like drop kicks him across the street,
Philanderer.
landing suspiciously in a trash can in a cartoonishly sound.
Just imagine in the background you just hear a ping, and then you just hear it loud. Shit.
I didn't know she had that good an arm.
Big noise goes off. When did the M1 Garand become popular?
The
PTSD.
Garand wasn't developed until the late 30s.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like World War One or World War II style.
World
weapon.
War II.
Two. Okay. I was about to say ping noise. Everyone who was in World War One goes.
Yeah, World War
Yeah.
One in Korea was like, saw most of its uses.
Okay.
Yeah.
1936 in service.
Gotcha. Well, but yeah, whenever Michael does get the message, he will head to the.
All right, so eventually you all make the way to the office.
I will say during you what?
But yeah, Teek's going to keep an eye out after what Vivian said.
Oh, okay.
You don't see
But-
shit.
He will.
You don't remember nothing.
That's not what I meant to roll. Ignore that. Alright, still okay. But I will do a spot just to keep an eye out for things.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. So y'all all make it to the
Vivian
office.
somewhere in the distance. They're all going to be kidnapped. To get to her word, she does have like coffee and maybe other slices of pie up there.
Hmm.
So,
Mhm.
may have an explanation for the guy.
The guy?
Okay.
The gentleman that was killed, the summoner.
Oh, okay.
I was downstairs speaking with the diner owner, and a gentleman came over and told me something about the Invisible Men when we were talking about this guy being remarkably plain, and that people have been killed inside their rooms with no real suspects, no real, description from people that may have been around other than there was a very plain-looking businessman around. That people in power that have had people come against them as far as testifying, have also encountered this with the witnesses. But basically, they've been killing witnesses. Looks over. Voss.
Yeah.
Two
That,
things. One, has Teak heard of this?
I'm about to ask, has Michael?
All right, let's see.
Because Michael's been living in the city for a while now.
Teak's been here all his life.
Teak's been here the whole time.
He
Almost
is
like he's
actually
an
the
invisible
invisible
man.
man. Yeah.
It's too short.
Teak actually
to
runs the
man.
town, but no one knows it.
He's actually the fourth boss.
We get to the end boss, and it's a swivel chair, and it's Teak sitting there.
But secretly, he's really been a dragon this whole time. Give me
I do have one more question after we
an
do this.
ideal role for you, Teak and Michael, since y'all both been in town for a while.
Normal, or
Uh,
easy, or difficult, or just normal.
let's make it difficult.
Boy.
Okay.
Nope.
Might be a long shot, but would it potentially be normal given that Michael is in like deep with like law stuff and has seen and has dealt with one of these cases before, given Voss? Or still difficult?
Still difficult.
Cool. No.
Nope, neither one of you have heard of
Failure.
these Invisible Men. You know, the Invisible Man, the novel, of course, but
Yeah.
Now my second question.
Wait, has
Does that sound eerily similar to the guy who visited Teak's shop?
your
Invisible Man,
buddy
don't
at the
check it
shop
out
didn't
yet.
describe him as weirdly plain, but it
Okay.
was a very general business guy description.
Teak will tell everyone about the gentleman who visited without asking for him and tried to keep it under wraps.
Gave your buddy a tenner, which is, you
tenner.
know, that's fairly
Quite a bit of money.
substantial. That's probably a few days' wage.
Yeah.
Should also point to the paper. There's a vehicle that was following you too, so I don't know if they're related. Was the guy remarkably boring that was driving it?
No. And he looked more, you know, casual, you know, guy trying to look, you know, presentable, but not specifically like business oriented.
Okay.
So in short, no, he didn't really fit this description.
I just had this image of all of us like looking at people in business. Are you playing? Are you playing? Are you playing?
How plain are you?
Wow.
How plain are you?
We're looking for a nondescript person.
Who
So-
are you?
So a tenner would potentially have been this guy, a week's wage for this guy.
Jesus.
Guy's
A
loaded.
mechanic's daily
The
wage.
guy's like, "I'm taking a
generally
week off,
vary
boss."
Between $2 to $3 a day.
Boss, I'm
Ford
I'm
was
gonna go.
paying $5 a day though, so less impressive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking a day off, boss.
Figured easier to call everyone here to tell that. That and the Italian mafia is interested in what's going on at the dock as well.
That's not gonna end well, considering I got a visit from the Pinkertons.
Are the Pinkertons like a big deal in this era? Sorry, am I? Okay.
They go back.
I couldn't
pre-Civil War.
remember. Okay, yeah.
They were bodyguarding
Even
Lincoln
Teak-
for a while.
Even Teak's
Yeah.
like, what?
They
What?
were for a long time essentially just what amounted to the FBI before the FBI was
Yeah,
a thing.
and the Secret
Mhm.
Service in
Because-
some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're still in service today.
Yep.
they are.
I think it's a.
Don't you
is it
open
a
Magic the
s-
Gathering
Is
cards
it a
before the
Swedish?
street date online?
I can't remember if it's a Swedish company that owns them now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like they threatened to sue the Red Dead
Yes,
Redemption
Swedish group.
guys for their use of the Pinkertons. But the game
Bah.
game company basically insisted that no, the Pinkertons are so tied to the Old West that it's just
Yeah.
historical, and the Pinkertons
Mhm.
eventually dropped the suit. I think it was just a scare attack. I don't think they were really planning to take them to court.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Magic the Gathering sent him after a guy because he opened Magic the Gathering cards too early.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
another
It
one
still
of
baffles.
another one of that company's unforced fouls. They've been really big in the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
So,
Yeah, I got visited by the Pinkertons, who have been hired by the shipping company as
That'll go well.
security. And apparently, there is a lot of rumors flying around that the man who was killed, the Union is at fault for it.
of course.
I essentially gave the agent a lecture in my office in front
I'm
of
sure that
everyone.
went over well.
He was annoyed, but I just powered on through. And basically, I did tell him effectively to not become a problem in the city.
They will immediately become a problem in the city.
Yes, I know
Mm.
they will. That seems to be our track record.
Honestly, do we even need to get involved with what's going on at the dock anymore outside of the summon
Yeah.
Naiad thing? That seems very political for us.
Our group.
Mm-hmm.
Sips coffee.
Do you have anyone visit you, Leo?
Patrick,
yeah. I didn't think I was in the room. Sorry. How
oh
thought
no,
I was still
I said everybody.
researching.
I
She
said
sent out,
everybody.
No,
yeah.
everybody's together.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's together. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she'd put out the phone tree and
And no one has actually approached me. The most that I've heard is, well, tending to patients. Apparently, more and more people are scared that something's about to happen down at the docks.
Lines up with everybody else's statement.
yeah.
Probably the people following you, Vivian, and asking about me were probably trying to keep us out of it,
Yeah.
find our stance in it. I don't
Well, the thing is,
I don't do politics.
the thing is, given
The-
our relative fame in the city now, our word as a unit holds weight. So if we publicly favor one side over another, that will shift public opinion and potentially the balance of power of whatever side.
All the more
Ah.
reason just to not be involved.
The sad fact is, by us not being involved, we have the potential, in other words, making it worse.
I mean, in what way outside of like if we get involved with politics and we sway the balance of power, then it could come crashing down on us too.
The sad fact is, we try to remain, on one hand, remaining completely neutral, both worked for and against us with the troll incident.
extend the same courtesy to the union and the dock. Offer to be a third party for negotiations.
That would probably actually be the most ideal situation. Because the one
Or
thing
at least a liaison between them to keep them from going at each other's throats.
About that time, the office door flings open. Dorothy
No
comes
knock or
hustling
anything?
in, ignores all you at first, doesn't even
Hmm.
shut the door behind her. Just over to the
Mhm.
press board, the little yellow pen that she had up at little girl's point, she pulls that off and replaces it with a red one.
What?
Oh, hi, Dorothy.
Dorothy.
I'm afraid to ask, do you have a confirmation?
Yes, I found it.
Found
Did you go up
what?
there?
Did you?
Oh, well, I just wanted to go for a walk.
Dorothy,
But I went to the
What?
park.
did you do?
I went for a walk in a park. Calm down, Mr. Anderson. Then she walks over and shuts the door. Ooh, is there coffee left?
Slides a mug, another piece of pie.
My dogs are barking. These are not good shoes to go walk
Do
in
you-
the park. I should swim at the house first.
What?
Regardless, what evidence have you found?
The big hoof print, like the lady on the phone was talking about. Several of them actually. To me, they all look the same size. So I don't think it may not have been but one of them. I don't know. But she's right. It's about the size of a horse, but it's like split.
Possibly.
Cloven.
Yep.
So we might have more brew in the city then.
That was my initial suspicion, yes.
Boy, he got a long way through the town though to get all the way to the opposite end.
He's had plenty of time, too.
That or more portals have been opened.
Looking over at the map, are there any like concentration points, or are they all kind of scattered right now?
Like I said, most of them are in the lower half of the city. The strange folk area, because that's
Yeah.
most humans aren't calling you all that often.
Nope.
That lady up north, assuming it was a human, just saw something weird.
Could have been a
They're
housekeeper.
into weird stuff. I just saw them in the paper. Might be why she didn't leave a name. But other than that, not really. I mean, most of the calls are coming from, neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And like you can flip through, and a lot of it's just, oh, I heard a weird noise, or I saw this, or some of it almost sounds like your typical kind of haunted house stories. Stuff's moving, stuff's moving in the night, and there's noises and doors opening and shutting.
So we have a conflict at the docks that likely is going to get escalated by someone that we've been warned not to pick a side in, but by not picking a side, it would seem like we don't really care, or that we're just letting it be. And on the other, we have the brew, or what is likely a sighting of the brew, which is more or less what our group was kind of conscripted to deal with.
And the Invisible Man. Potentially.
Oh, yeah. Which means I likely have a target on my back at some point.
I could see about running liaisons between the union, the company,
Which might
if they would
explain
even help.
was following me from my house.
That might explain it. It could be a whole other person following you. Who knows?
Yeah, but this was just a regular guy that looked like a businessman who was acting very hard to seem that way.
In a city of a couple million, you're now suspicious of everybody that works in an office and wears a suit.
He's going into his office the following day like, it was you, wasn't it?
Where were you on the night of?
Where were you last night?
What?
Oh, I swear I wasn't following you around. I was following the
Mhm.
orc. He never noticed.
Split up and at least put out feelers on this. I mean, we can't really do anything about the Invisible Men at the moment, but something to keep an eyeball out.
The one thing we may want to do is, Mr. Anderson, you're better at negotiation than most of us. If we do want to set up a third part, or at least a neutral meeting,
Mhm.
I would actually recommend you take point on that. However, me and Salvador will actually attempt to look further into this possible brew sighting.
Dorothy's like,
Right.
oh, I can show you where the footprints were.
There is an audible inhale of breath.
We may also want to get in contact with Cole, or who was the this is out of character. Who was the actual like detective that we worked with when we first encountered the brew?
Let's see.
Not the one that
is-
basically got his career ruined.
Yeah,
Yeah, that elf. He is no
Not the
longer.
Poor
elf.
elf.
He was not the detective though. That was just an officer.
Yeah.
he was a rookie.
Yeah.
Zoot Marlowe.
Yeah.
No,
that's
Zoot
Zoot
was the
Marlowe was the
new Mickey.
gnome guy we ran
Yeah, it
into.
was detective. There was Detective Myers.
That might have been him.
Yeah, I believe it was Myers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We may want to get in touch with him and let him know that there's possibly more of them running around.
See if they can contact the precinct up there to have a heavier presence.
At least
Using what she knows of the town. Is there anywhere up there abandoned or kind of derelict that Brew could set up?
There's some wooded areas up there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Little Girls Point Park, it was a sizable park before the city expanded up to it.
Mhm.
It's actually one feature that I did not make up. That park exists for real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like if you look over here, in the Deerwood area, all this blank space here that the roads kind of whip around, that's a forest.
that's just
Okay.
Now that is not part of the park, but it is.
Adjacent.
yeah.
Mhm.
You're kind of getting out into, technically the city limit still covers that, but you're kind of really getting out in the county by that point.
Like around here. That area.
Yes.
Oop, too far.
So like there's
Yeah.
plenty of wooded area there for, any kind of critter to be living in it. Probably some bears out there, all kind of stuff. Maybe some moose this far down in the winter. I don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Terrible writing.
There is a text tool, my dude.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't use it. More fun to try and draw it out when you're not an artist.
So is anybody taking Dorothy up on her offer to take you out to where the footprints? She's all
Which is
excited to contribute.
I'm
Teak will take her up on it, and this time he'll drive her out there.
that's before. Wait until we get in touch with Salvador.
Well, that's not gonna be till next week, real time. So
Oh,
Oh, it is almost 9:30.
yeah.
Well, if I'm running point on acting as a third party mediation, Vivian, I could definitely use your help with that.
One of the few things I'm good at.
There's many things you're good at. That just happens to be one of them.
Okay, can we stop the flirting? It's
What?
he just kind of like hunkers down and just starts laughing.
Dorothy starts coughing because you made her snort her coffee.
I will. There's like a faint like dusting of red along the bridge of his nose and across his cheekbones a bit.
Just because Teak,
He's blushing. He's blushing.
just because Teak tweaks
He's
her
laughing
feathers,
harder.
she's gonna lean in very slowly, very seductively, put a finger under his chin, and be like, "Darling, I assure you, you'll know exactly when I'm flirting with someone."
He's still laughing.
To which actually,
And punches him.
to which Leo responds, I thought you already were an item. Guess I misunderstood.
Do you actually punch Teak?
No, she would not punch Teak.
Okay.
She might
Still swallow nose. Punch Teaks. Ah.
She might gently kind of like just like a very gentle like pap.
And that pap, like that cartoonish like bump comes out of his head.
The shit-eating grin on Teak right now.
Just shakes her head, looking to the sky, like God grant me strength.
I'm Park. And he's gone.
All right, so Vivian and Michael are driving over to the docks.
Yes. Or do they have the number of the the dock workers?
Yeah, you'd have the number, their phone number, yes.
We can try that before we leave. But if it's about the time they're going to be getting let out, it would be about the same. Or if they want to meet at a third location.
Okay.
Call before we. She'll call.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, Michael, he would walk back in, look right at Dorothy, and go, the print you found,
Prince, but yes.
Dorothy, call the police department and inform them, please. As we did promise to keep them informed of supernatural happenings.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Leo was actually getting in touch with the detectives, unless this is specifically due to your...
It's specifically due to his oath.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But okay, she'll get on the phone.
As long as somebody does,
Mhm.
his oath is fulfilled. So
if you contact the Windburn department that y'all already know about.
Yeah. As long as one of them does it, basically.
So, Windburn get in touch with the actual, probably Highland Park precinct is probably the one that would cover Little Girls Point as well. Because when you get up that far north, the city's expanded that far, but it's not as heavily populated in that area.
Yeah, but then he will retreat back to the car again. Because Teak just very heavily flustered him.
Oh, well, as they are leaving, Teak just looks at Dorothy and is like, "You're still blushing, right? Right?"
Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
I've only seen it a couple of times.
You're welcome.
Warn me next time so I'm not taking a drink.
Sorry.
Vivian is shaking her head and calls the one dock worker that they have a point of contact with.
We're calling the office.
Yeah.
So Clifford Scott answers the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first two dock guys y'all met. He was the human one, not the dwarf one.
Okay.
Longshoremen's Association.
Hi, it's Vivian. I was wondering if we could arrange a meeting with you all concerning the goings on.
Oh, sure. I mean, we'd be willing to talk to you whenever.
Where's a good place for you?
Well, I'm here manning the phones at the office, though. We've actually moved most of the office elsewhere.
Perhaps a neutral location would serve best for this.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't know how many people are you wanting us to bring. I know y'all have an office, but
we do. But a third location that's neutral would be the best. At the moment, it would just be myself and Michael Anderson. Any of the leaders that would wish to come and speak.
Well, we've got a
Election.
protest going on tonight.
It wouldn't take up much time.
And when he says that, you go, "Oh, that's that noise in the background." You hear a little bit. It sounds like a little bit of chanting or something in the background.
Oh dear.
I mean, Vasily's out there somewhere.
However you think might be best to speak to, seeing about potentially resolving this peacefully.
You're gonna need somebody from the company then.
Well,
they've been
we
kind
will
of.
also be reaching out to them.
They've been a little more aggressive. Jim was here earlier. I don't know if Jim's still here or not. I know Vasily was wanting Jim to come in here and glad hand folks and then get out in case anything goes bad.
Perhaps we should locate Jim. She's like thinking, oh shit, Invisible Men. That's just got her a little bit on edge of everything.
As he's talking to you, he's like, you hear the sound of like him cracking the door open and looking at it. The chanting gets, not chant, well, I guess it's
noise.
Chants, but it's like slogan chants, not, anything.
Yeah. Hey ho.
You hear it get louder. It's like Vasily's about to give a speech. Once you get him going, I love the guy. He's done a lot for us, but he's a talker.
Yeah. Part of the job, I would assume.
Well, yeah, it's not part of the job I would want. And then you hear what sounds like a rifle go off.
Ah, shit.
And that's where we're cut for today.
Lovely.
Yay.
Would Teak hear that?
If they haven't left.
Y'all don't have speaker phones.
Oh, but she's
No,
like.
but I have a listen skill.
It would be loud, and she's not pressing it directly to her ear.
You would probably hear Vivian's reaction to it at the very least.
She would cuss, yeah.
So anyway, I hope y'all had fun. I enjoyed it. Hope everybody that watched enjoyed it. Hope you'll join us again next week. Again, I was your storyteller for the evening, Jason. And with me has been Sarah. It's Vivian. Patrick as Leo. Eric as Michael Anderson. And Carr as Teak. And we will see y'all next week.
So tread with care
Tune in next.
and heed the sign. Abomination, Ali's light. For in the night the shadows grow and take with them